like to forget, I think, but we have to march on. I'd like to start by introducing our members of the board. To my far right is Ms. Tia Cernova. To my immediate right is Mr. Robert Souls. To my immediate left is Mr. Demetrius Poussalides, our vice chairman. Seated next to him is Mr. Jeff Sutton, and seated at the end is our zoning director, Mr. Thomas Ferrara. So I'd like to go ahead and have you call roll call, please, if you would, sir.
Mr. Souls.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton.
Yes.
Ms. Cernova.
Yes.
Mr. Poussalides.
Yes.
And Mr. Reichel.
Yes. Our other member, Mr. Beck, could not be with us this evening. So everyone has seen tonight's agenda. Are there any changes to that agenda?
No.
None? Statement of duties, I will bear you the reading of that. It is listed at the back of the room if you want to see what the statement of duties are as they apply to us members of the board up here. And then Mr. Beck provided us with the minutes from our last meeting. Can we have an approval of the minutes, please? I need a motion on that.
Second.
Okay, a vote on that, if you would, Mr. Farrell.
Ms. Cernova.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton.
Yes.
Mr. Souls.
Yes.
Mr. Poussalides.
Yes.
And Mr. Reichel.
And I abstain because I was not present. Next, is there any unfinished business to be brought before the board this evening? None heard. We will move on to new business. We have 4 appeals this evening, and we'll address those individually when we get into the matters at hand. But I would like to read the fire department communication. This applies to all 4 of our appeals this evening. To Timothy Reichel, Chairman, from Scott Kelly, the Inspector, dated August 13th, 2020. He's reviewed every one of the appeals this evening, and to every one of the appeals, he has stated that the fire department has no recommendations or suggestions regarding any of the appeals to be presented this evening. Next, I would like to administer the oath. And with that, I would like anyone who is going to speak this evening, let me ask you first, have you all signed in the back on the sign-in sheet? If you are going to speak this evening, will you please stand and raise your right hand? Do you swear or affirm that the information you are about to present is true and accurate to the best of your knowledge and belief? Answer, I do, or I will.
I do.
Thank you very much. That taken care of, we can move on to our first appeal. And I'll go ahead and read that one. This is appeal number 1307-20, applicant owner Robert Adams, 1072 Mount Pleasant Street, Northwest North Canton, Ohio, 44720. A multifamily dwelling was constructed without obtaining the required zoning and building permits from the Stark County Building Department. The applicant is now requesting a variance to allow an already constructed multifamily dwelling at the above address. The property is zoned R1 Single Family Residential District, parcel number 10001843. This addresses our section 702.2A2 permitted uses, single family dwelling. Is there anyone here to present the appeal? Please, if you'll step up to the microphone, please. Again, please give your name and your address.
Good evening.
Good evening.
My name is Ron Starkey. I'm the attorney for Robert Doug Adams. My office address is 638 West Maple Street, Hartville, Ohio 44632.
Now we're getting sports.
Not anymore.
Are the Indians winning? They don't start. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So, Chairman, I have the pleasure of representing Doug Adams, legally known as Robert Adams. lives at 1072 Mount Pleasant Street Northwest, North Canton, Ohio, 44720. As you correctly read in our application, we are attempting to rectify a misjudgment of 20-plus years ago when a property was added onto and constructed without any building permits, zoning approvals, or anything of that type. At this point in time, we have worked with Mr. Farrar to find out what we needed to do from a zoning perspective. We've submitted plans to Angela Kavanaugh at the Stark County Building Department to get approval of the as-built drawings for the structure, and work with Stark County Health Department to make sure that we are in compliance with their needs as to well, septic systems, things of that nature. The property as constructed is a garage-type building with 2 apartments above it, and Mr. Adams currently has 2 tenants. One is his daughter, and the other tenant is the caretaker for his elderly mother and father. He built this structure 20-plus years ago. He's had tenants the last several years, and the property sits on approximately 7 acres or so. And we would just look for the variance as to allow the multifamily use for the 2 apartment structures above the garage. I have Mr. Adams here with me to testify. I can answer any questions, or I usually sit on that side of the table for Hartville, so I'm not sure of your process here, but if you take testimony, I will offer Mr. Adams.
We'll keep Mr. Adams in case we need him. Is there anyone else besides Mr. Adams here to speak on the appeal, for the appeal? Is there anyone present to speak against the appeal?
We do have letters of support that we will offer to your board from adjoining neighbors who were notified: Mr. McKee, Mr. Summers, Mr. Phillips, Mr. Eastep, and then Mr. and Mrs. Harris of Stark Mini Storage.
We'll take them for what they're worth as
Might
stated in
pass
the
this
letters.
to you.
Please. However, they cannot be cross-examined or asked any questions. We'll go ahead and take them. Put them in the record. Okay, I guess with nobody speaking against the appeal, I'll open it up to questions from the board. Fire away.
So if this was constructed 20 years ago, what has brought up this issue at this point?
Yes. At this point in time, Mr. Adams is preparing to downsize from his structure and eventually retire from his business. So he wants to have the house prepared for sale. So you needed to be compliant in order that a purchaser could obtain financing and make sure there's no outstanding issues with any governmental agency.
So this structure was constructed. The building itself was 20 years ago,
Yes, sir.
and the apartments were put in when?
What year were they turned into apartments?
Well, they were always up there, but they were turning in apartments probably 12 years ago.
12 years ago?
They've been living in that structure for 12 years.
I was living up there when I got divorced for a long time, yeah.
Okay. And when that initial building was constructed, you said there was no zoning back then? Or you didn't come forward for it?
Talked to whoever the zoning inspector was back then, but we never really finalized anything. It was originally an office in the game room, and when I got divorced, I had no place to go, so that's when I started living there.
The township had zoning back then. Also, the
I knew we did, yes.
building department was also active.
Yeah.
Stark County.
I mean, you're you're at the mercy of your panel. We did not apply for building permits, did not apply for zoning at the time of construction.
And you're saying that now that you're going to sell this structure, is that it? Or it's up for sale?
I just saw the whole corner, the whole 7 acres.
You're gonna sell the whole 7 acres?
One
And
parcel now.
will your daughter and the caretaker remain there? been made.
Yes, sir.
Anyone else with questions? Okay, entertain a motion, please.
I'll make a motion. Whereas applicant owner, and this is appeal 130720, whereas applicant owner Robert Adams, 1072 Mount Pleasant Street, Northwest Montana, 44720, multifamily dwelling was constructed without obtaining the required zoning and building permits from Stark County Building Department. Applicant is now requesting a variance to allow an already constructed multifamily dwelling at the above address. This property is in R1 single family residential district parcel number 1000143. Whereas the applicant has appeared in person along with legal counsel before the board in an adjudication hearing on said application in the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals, has duly considered this application pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 519.14. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the following request in regards to Section 702.2A2 permitted uses regarding single-family dwelling, and a variance be granted to permit multifamily use regarding the addition that is located on 1072 Mount Pleasant Street, Northwest Montana, 44720.
Thank you. Do I have a second? I'll second. Any discussion prior to vote? Okay, you want to have a vote, Mr. Farrar?
Ms. Cernova,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
Mr. Souls,
No.
Mr. Kuselides,
Yes.
Mr. Reichel.
Yes. Okay, you can meet with the, Mr. Ferrara after the meeting or next business day if you'd like.
Okay, very good, thank you.
Give us a call tomorrow.
I'll call you tomorrow. Okay, thank you.
Okay, moving on to the second appeal this evening. This is appeal number 1308-20, applicant owner Tyler Wheeler, 586 23rd Street, Northwest Massillon, Ohio, 44647. And also PT Holdings LLC, 176 East Mohawk Drive, Melbourne, Ohio, 44644. Applicant requests a conditional use permit for a child daycare in a B1 neighborhood business district, parcel 52-08165. And this applies to our section 711.2B7, conditionally permitted uses as a child daycare center. Is there anyone here to speak for the appeal? Please step forward, state your name and your address, please.
Keith McLeod, 1427 Howell, Southeast Canton, Ohio, 44707.
Okay, go ahead and present your appeal.
Good evening. We're in the process of trying to open a child daycare center. And in the back of the center, we need to put stop and safety posts to ensure that there's no through traffic, there will be no unloading or loading in this back area, because back there we'll have our kids' playground.
I'll reserve my question. Is there anyone else here to speak for the appeal? Sir, step to the podium, please. State your name and your address, please.
Yep. Robert Fisher, 176 East Mohawk Drive, Malvern, Ohio, 44644. I'm the owner of the building, and I'd just like to say at this time when it's very difficult to find people to rent, I think these are an excellent company to be in there. This is their second facility that they would have. I think it'd be a great addition to Plain Township for the St. Mike's parents and the Avondale parents. And I can think of a lot worse renters. Thank you.
Is there anyone else to speak for the appeal?
I'd also like to add that anything that would be needed safety-wise for the children, as a landowner, I would make sure that would be done.
I'm sure that'll be addressed in the question.
Okay.
Anyone else to speak for the appeal? Is there anyone to speak against the appeal? Okay, questions from the board?
Mr. McLeod, can you explain how you're gonna fence this in, or what your plan is in the back of this building?
Well, the back of the building, there's an entrance where there's a Marianne Donut. And it's a small entrance. And what we want to do is we want to block off that entrance from that Marianne Donuts to the other side of our building. Okay, so we'll put a stop and safety bar on one side of the building, another stop and safety bar on the other side of the building, so we can make sure there's no drive-through traffic or anybody can even think there's a way to get through that area.
So on each side of the building, you said it's like a
We
bar?
yeah, we could either stop and safety, they call them stop and safety bars. We can do stop and safety bars or cement blocks. And then we'll have a fenced-in playground area also back there.
So essentially, no vehicles whatsoever will be able to get back
Exact-
from either side?
Exactly.
Because of those
Exactly.
stop and safety bars?
Exactly.
So Mr. Fisher?
Yes.
Will you come up with?
Yes.
I've got a question. You're not currently in the building, correct?
Correct.
He wants to open a daycare in that building.
Correct.
But one of his conditions is he wants a playground for it, or the family wants a playground for it in the
Correct.
back. But you own the building,
Correct.
correct? Are there any deliveries being made to the back of that building right now for any current tenants in that building?
No, and there never have been any deliveries into the back of the building since I owned it. We were a physical therapy clinic there for 20 years. And then now it's a holistic medicine at the time, but there's no deliveries in the back. There is, as he was mentioning, there's access to Marianne Donuts, and that was an easement to my property, to have easement to Wise Avenue, that I would then shut down. And we would put up cement barriers to prevent any cross traffic.
Does that have to be presented to Stark County Planning or our trustees to have that designated as no longer an access to Wise Avenue?
If there is a current easement,
No. I believe, as I read, and again, I'm not an attorney, so I apologize. As I read it, I have the easement right through Marianne Donuts to get to Wise Avenue. So I have the easement through their property. They don't have an easement through mine. Does that make sense?
Does the fire department make any comments about it?
Yeah, they had, and surprisingly, they had no recommendation. Yeah. This stop bar, are these improvements that you are going to pay for to have
I will pay for
put in
that.
place?
I was actually going to have very similar to either the construction cement barriers that are the 3-foot barriers put across there, and then they were going to fence in behind the barriers, or I was going to get the big cement planter barriers. Either way, I was putting in cement barriers on both ends of the building, myself.
So this stop bar isn't a bar itself, they're like,
Well, I guess we say stop bar as, it's not necessarily per se a stop bar. The cement barrier is,
it'd be like bollards, metal or concrete bollards that would be put in there, spaced appropriately so a vehicle couldn't get between them?
Correct. We could, whatever would be recommended, we would do.
And that's the question I have right now is, through the application itself, there's really no information to base our vote on. In other words, there's a concept, there's an idea there, but there's no drawings. There was a drawing where you just put 3 dots or whatever. I think we need a little bit more. I personally think I need a bit more to base my vote on how this would be marked off adequately, and ultimately I'm looking for the safety of those children.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt, the safety of those children. We've had a couple of these in the past. We've had the applicants come back at a later time and give us a better picture of what they want done. If you would fence that in then, would some of that concrete be lifted? So you'd have a dirt surface with like
No,
mulch? or
yeah, it would be mulch. Well, what we would do is the concrete barriers or cement barriers, we would have those in front of Mary Ann's and then on the other side of the building. We would put the fence inside of those barriers.
I understand that.
And then, but the barriers wouldn't move. That would be planted, not going anywhere. And then our fence would be on the inside of that, and we'd mulch that in, put down the rubber lay underneath, and then mulch that inside the barrier.
So what you're saying, you would install these concrete barriers that essentially, from just an engineering standpoint, on each side that would withstand, vehicular traffic going through.
Correct. Either the cement barriers that they bury in, we would either do, again, we're open to recommendations of what the Plain Township would like, but as the property owner, I would commit to spending the money to put up whatever barriers would be necessary to stop traffic.
I would be fine with that as long as.
Be it, planted steel or cement, I really don't.
You're making me feel a little bit better now. When I say a bollard is the thing that is inserted into the ground. It could be of any type of makeup, but it is in the ground. You had mentioned concrete pots. If you put some flower pots there, big ones, even big ones, I wouldn't feel comfortable with that.
Okay.
They've got to be inserted.
Anchored.
Anchored. Thank you,
good
Mr.
word.
Sutton, that's the word I was looking for. You see them outside of like the drugstores and everything,
Sure.
the yellow ones?
Well,
Yellow
outside
ones that
the
come up.
federal building anymore, sure.
Yeah, or the ones by the gas pumps, yellow, which catches your eye, and so if something like that could be done,
I will do it.
that appeases me, makes me happy.
And again, the safety of the children is for us and him and her.
Absolutely, and speaking of that, you already have one,
We have a daycare in Maston now. We've had close to 3 years now. So
my hometown.
there it is.
We're in Maston.
Where is it off of?
Are you the Keith McLeod from McKinley though? I mean, that's fine with me.
I am. But my partner's from Maston, so
Wait, are you a tiger or a bulldog?
I'm a tiger, all the way.
we go through this all the time.
He's a very well-known basketball player.
I know he is.
Yeah.
I married a girl from Canton, Lincoln, so.
Okay.
And she's still mad at you because you stole their high school. There you go. Now we've got that all out of the way. Okay, I've got no further questions.
Mr. Chairman, I'll make a motion. Applicant and owner Tyra Wheeler, 586 23rd Street, Northwest Massillon. PT Holdings LLC, 176 East Mohawk Drive, Malvern, Ohio. Applicant requests a conditional use permit for a child daycare in the B1 Neighborhood Business District, parcel 52-08165. Now therefore be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Officials to grant the request. That is a conditional permitted use of child daycare center. I would make that under the auspices that on each side of the building, that anchored concrete or steel or some sort of barriers be installed that would be consistent with stopping the flow of any vehicular traffic that would attempt to go through there.
Second.
Any other
Cernova,
Beverly.
Yes.
Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
Mr. Souls,
Yes.
Mr. Posilides,
Yes.
Mr. Reichel.
Yes, with Mr. Sol's stipulation regarding the barriers.
The barrier.
Anchored barriers. I vote yes.
Good luck, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you. And go Tigers.
Yeah, go Tigers.
Call,
Go Hornets. Oh, I love high school. High school in Stark County is the best. It is, baby. Okay, we are moving on to our third appeal of this evening. Let me get my... Talk about killing some trees. We do a really good job. Okay, this is appeal number 1310-20, applicant and owner Monica Kress, 7813 Market Avenue, North Canton, Ohio 44721. Parcel number 52-000960. Applicant requests the following variance to construct a 32-foot by 32-foot, 1,024 square foot attached residential garage and mudroom at the above location with a 5-yard side yard setback. To be addressed is Article 7, Section 702.3, minimum lot and yard requirements, 5-foot west side yard variance, 10-foot required, 5-foot requested. Is there anyone here to speak for the appeal?
I am Monica Kress.
Come on up to, please state your name and your address, please, for our stenographer over there.
Monica Kress, 7813 Market Avenue North that's where I'm getting my mail.
Okay. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your appeal.
Okay, I purchased the old Starfire gas station on Market Avenue North to remodel it into a house. So I've been working with Mr. Ferrara on that, and I'm really excited about the project, and I needed to add some square footage. It's teeny tiny anyway. So I'm adding a mudroom, and then I wanted to put a 2-car garage with a workshop in the back, because I do woodworking. So basically, I want to stick with the gas station theme for this entire project and the property. So I wanted to have 2 garage bays to make it look kind of like a service station. So to do that, I need the way the house is set up, and I believe I have some 3D renderings for you guys to look at. To have the 2 garage bays, I needed a little extra space. So I filed the appeal, I talked to the neighbor first, and filed that with your board to see if I could get approval so that I could have a little extra space to have the 2 garage bays instead of having 1 garage door. Oh, it's not in there?
No.
I thought I submit that with the appeal packet.
Go home and get it.
I have it on my phone if anyone
Go
wants to
away.
see it. It's essentially the building stands and faces south, and the mudroom will be if you're facing north, the mudroom will be to the left of that, and then the garage will then, of course, be attached to that.
Is this what you were talking about?
No, there's actually a 3D,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
there's a 3D drawing that I have that my contractor did. It's not in there.
Is there anyone else to speak for the appeal? Anyone to speak against the appeal? Questions from the board?
So are you going to operate a business on it?
Maybe someday down the road, that's kind of a goal, but right now I want to have it just as a residence. I'm actually looking to get it,
It's zoned R1.
yes. Yeah, I had it, well, the township had it zoned R1, and then I also talked to the county, and they rezoned it as well.
So what is the biz kit? That's,
That's a very old email that I have.
I don't know if it's a business of some sort.
No. I have I do have an LLC, but it's MK Elements. I do some light design and furniture remodeling, things like that, so this was right up my alley.
Okay, so you plan to turn this, you're not living, are you living there now?
No, it's pretty much gutted on the inside. I just had it painted, so if you drive on Market Avenue North, you'll see. It's pretty exciting. I guess there's been a lot of people stopping by, asking questions.
Yeah, it's been a dump for a long time.
Yeah, I'm really excited to make it into something
I was
good
taken
for the
aback,
community.
Yeah, when I saw the address, and I've driven by that
Oh, yes.
many times. But when I Google mapped it and it showed me that was that gas station, I'm thinking, what?
People think I'm crazy, but
You were ambitious. I'll give you that.
I do have an eye for things like that. So give it about a year and it's gonna be something to talk about.
Well, yeah, but I think what Mr. Souls is alluding to, it can't get any worse, let's put it that way.
Well-
I'm sure that those tanks were taken
Oh,
out
yeah,
for years.
yeah,
ago.
all that was taken care of. I wouldn't have bought it
I
otherwise.
almost remember seeing that happening. So,
Yeah.
I was gonna say, he don't wanna step in on it.
No, and,
You'd have the EPA on here and everything.
oh, yes, that, in fact, I think we talked about that as well.
Yep.
He, Mr. Farrar was a wonderful resource. I've been on
Great.
speed dial with him multiple times. So this was definitely something I thought through, and it's, I'm committed. I love Plain Township. I live here now. I grew up in East Canton, so I want to be part of this community, and I want to make it a better place. So that's what I'm looking to do, and hopefully it'll be in the newspaper one of these days. I'm even trying to work with the state of Ohio and the Department of Interior to get it designated a historic landmark if I could.
You got the preservation.
Yeah, to see if I can tap into that. So I'm working with them. It was built in 1938, and if anyone knows of any resources where I can figure out who built it, what original gas station was there, and maybe photos, that would be fantastic.
We do have a Plain Township Historic
Yeah.
Society.
I touched base with them, but they haven't given me any extra information, so I'm working with the township and the county. So I'm gonna try.
Tom, you have any pictures back then?
Yeah,
Bad joke.
thanks a lot.
Well, I was gonna say, probably your best resources are the old timers.
The residents, yeah.
The residents that grew up in Plain Township there. Most of us seem to be transplants to
Yeah.
Plain Township, but if you talk to the original Plain Township residents, they may be able to.
I was thinking about that, so I may put something out there on, social media and see if I can find any names or information. I'm sure somebody's gotta know
Oh, yeah,
something,
oh, yeah.
yeah.
I'll ask her.
Well, I appreciate that.
But, any other questions from the board?
No, sir, Mr. Chairman, make a motion.
Mr. Solz?
Applicant owner Monica Kress, 7813 Market Avenue North, Canton, Ohio, parcel 52-000960. Applicant requests the following variance to construct a 32-foot by 32-foot, 1,024 square foot attached residential garage and mudroom at the above location with a 5-foot emergency setback. Now therefore be hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Officials to grant the request. That is a 5-foot west side yard variance, 10-foot required, 5-foot request.
I'll second. Any further discussion? Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cernova,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
Mr. Souls,
Yes.
Mr. Pusalides,
Yes.
and Mr. Reichel.
Yes, and anxious to see what you come up with.
I will follow up. Thank you all so much.
Give us a
the
call.
vote.
Will do. Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Now we have our last appeal of the evening. I want to make sure that the right paper. And that is appeal number 1311-20, applicant and owner Gary Moore, 4741 Middle Branch Avenue, Northeast Canton, Ohio, 44705. Parcel number 52-07648. He requests the following to construct a 24-foot by 40-foot, 960 square foot detached residential garage on the above referenced property. This goes to our section 602.5A1, accessory uses, buildings and structures. 490 square foot size variance requested. 470 square foot permitted, 960 square foot requested. for anyone to speak for the appeal. Please, again, like the others, step to the podium. Give us your name and your address, please.
Gary Moore, 4741 Middle Branch.
Okay, go ahead and tell us a little bit about your appeal and what you want done there.
Well, I, due to the passing of my father-in-law last year, I acquired 2 classic cars, and I need a place to store them. So I need to build a garage. And the extra space is actually to get rid of the shed and extend out. I don't know, you can see on the prints what the garage would look like. But it's to do away with the shed and for storage of the 2 cars.
Anyone else to speak for the appeal? Anyone to speak against the appeal? Then I'll raise your hand. Questions from the board?
Can you construct it kind of similar to your home, or what's the construction gonna look like?
It's it'll be sided, it'll be a whole building construction, but it'll be OSB with aluminum siding, metal roof. The colors, I don't know if I put the colors on there or not, but I tried to get it to match the house.
And how come you went with 24 foot by 40 feet?
Well, it's actually 24 by 32 undercover. The extra, the 8 foot is actually gonna be a patio. If you,
Oh,
when you come out the back door, kind of utilize that as a, covered patio. in the back, So,
and that's essentially for the 72 mile per hour.
the garage itself.
Yeah, and the garage is gonna be used
To store the Monte Carlo, the Bel Air, and and then the stuff from the shed, right? Lawnmowers, that kind of stuff.
Sorry to hear about your father-in-law, but that's a nice
He's a great man.
legacy to leave to you.
Have you had any discussions with the neighbor on either side of you? on whether-
Yeah, I've talked to both of them. I've talked to all the neighbors there. Yeah, nobody.
Nobody raised their
Mhm.
mistake regarding. They'll want rides in the cars though.
Right.
I have. Any other questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion whereas applicant Gary Moore, 4741 Middle Branch Avenue, Northeast Canton, Ohio, 44705, parcel number 5207. Yes?
Way too bad.
Oh, I'm sorry. I could just give the, right, whereas applicant owner Gary Moore, 4741 Middle Branch Avenue, Northeast Canton, Ohio, 44705, parcel number 520764, requests the following to construct a 24 by 40 foot, 960 square feet detached residential garage on the above referenced property, whereas the applicant has appeared before the board in this hearing on said application to the Board of Zoning Appeal and has duly appeared pursuant to Ohio Revised Code 519.14. Now therefore be it hereby resolved by the Plain Township Board of Zoning Appeals to grant the request pursuant to section 602.5A1 accessory uses, buildings and structures to grant a 490 square foot size variance requested, 470 square feet permitted, 960 square feet requested.
I'll second.
There's no further discussion. A roll call vote, please.
Ms. Cernova,
Yes.
Mr. Sutton,
Yes.
Mr. Solz,
Yes.
Mr. Posolides,
Yes.
and Mr. Reich.
Yes.
Thank you. Good
Thank
luck.
you. Thank you, guys. Thank you so much.
Call me.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay.
Is there anything else to be brought to the board's attention? I see that there is a meeting scheduled for October 7th, 2020. My birthday's October 6th, so I expect a cake.
Mine's the second, so I'll expect one.
Uh-oh.
There you go. So we can kind of have a zoning party, socially distanced, of course.
The proper party, sure.
That's right, cupcake.
Cupcakes.
Pre-wrap.
If there's nothing else, we will go ahead, entertain a
Move to
motion to adjourn.
Second.
And this meeting, we have to vote for it.
Aye.
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 All in favor?
Kenny?
No.
Do we know how many we have for that October meeting?
We have one so far, possibly two. Another one's talking about coming in.
Did that one that canceled out for tonight, is that gonna be a,
No, he decided he's gonna move. He's having problems with the neighbor, and that's why he wanted to put the fence up.
okay?
He said it'd be easier to move.
See you guys.
Night, night.
See y'all later.
Thank you, Ben. And Merrill, thanks for being here. Tom, I put those
Good night,
letters
Jeff.
that he wanted to give us
Okay.
on the top, and I just wrote Adams and Peel there. If you
Very
want-
good.
If you want to keep them with the information that you have.
Did you want anything from me?
Oh, no.
Oh, okay.
No, thank you.
See you next month.
You have a good evening. A good month.
Famous people in here, no?
Yeah, he was a heck of a star. In fact, I think he played professionally for several years.
Oh, did he?
Yep. Yeah, I think he played here, and I think he also played overseas. My memory serves me right. Yeah, he was a very good ball player. Okay, kiddo. See you later.
See you later.
Thanks, Doc.
Thank you.